Are you feeling like every time you share something, a plan, a dream, your next move, something goes wrong? Maybe you told the wrong person, maybe the energy shifted, or maybe you opened up your real thoughts, your struggles, your ambitions, and somehow that information found its way back to you in the worst way possible. And if that is you, if you've ever walked away from a conversation thinking, I shouldn't have said that, this video is for you. What most people call being open, being authentic, being real is one of the most expensive habits you can have. And the people who seem to have moved the furthest have quietly learned something most of us were never taught. They've learned the power of speaking less. I'm going to break this down into two silent laws, two principles grounded in psychology and strategy that explain why silence isn't withdrawal. It is power. The premature applause trap. It took me a while to realize why keeping things to myself was so important, but Robert Greene put it into terms I couldn't ignore. In the 48 Laws of Power, Law 4 reads, always say less than necessary. Greene writes that when you speak more than needed, you give away far more than just information. You give away intention, and intention once public is already compromised. Here is the psychology. When you tell someone about a goal, a business you're building, a move you're planning, a version of yourself you're becoming, your brain registers a small reward. The nod, the that's amazing, the validation. That reward is processed as partial completion. You haven't done the thing yet, but your brain has already tasted the win. Carl Weiser called this symbolic completion. In his experiments, people who announced their intention were less likely to follow through. Not because they were lazy, but because the announcement itself partially satisfied the drive. Every time you share your plan before it's done, you're giving yourself a round of applause for a performance that hasn't happened yet. And the brain sees less reason to keep rehearsing. Build first, announce later, and let the result carry the introduction. The body language of saying nothing. This is the part that will change the way you walked into every room for the rest of your life. Here is something most people never consider. Silence has physical signature. And the people who speak less don't just sound more powerful, they look more powerful. Research from Harvard Business School found out that individuals who pause longer before responding, who resist the urge to fill the silence, are consistently rated as more competent, confident, and more authoritative. Not because of what they said, but because of what they didn't say. Now, contrast that with over-explaining. When you speak too fast, too much, too eagerly, the body reveals it before the words ever arrive. Micro-expressions of anxiety like rapid blinking, increasing speech rate, rising vocal inflections at the end of declarative statements are decoded subconsciously by every person in the room within milliseconds. These signals don't communicate honesty. They signal, I need you to believe me. They communicate need. And the moment someone senses you need their approval, they begin to withdraw. This isn't cruelty, it is human nature. FBI hostage negotiator Chris Voss identified silence as the most powerful tool in any negotiation. Not a tactic, not a technique, but a tool. Because silence complies the other person to fill the space. And whatever they use to fill, it reveals everything about them. The person who speaks least controls the room, not by dominating it, but by letting everyone else map themselves first. The quieter you become, the more others reveal. Remember, revelation is information, and information is power. The good thing about understanding others is that it makes you understand yourself. When you examine why you overshare, when you sit with yourself honestly, the answer is almost never about information. It is almost always about need. The need to be understood before you've been proven. The need to be seen before you've been built. The need for someone in the room to confirm that what you're becoming is real. That need isn't weakness. It is deeply, completely human. But it's worth asking, why do you need to say it out loud to make it feel real? What would it mean to build quietly long enough to let your results speak first? Because the version of you that moves in silence isn't a closed-off version. It's a more secure one that no longer needs permission to be real. Epictetus wrote, we have two ears and one mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. But I really think what he meant was pointing at restraint as intelligence, at the discipline of giving the world less of your inner life than it asks for, and letting the gap become your advantage. Move quickly, build relentlessly, let the outcome introduce you. Finally, if you liked the video, do subscribe and comment what's one thing you wish you had kept for yourself. Thanks for watching.